unless you are living under a rock, you have undoubtedly heard about the commercial banking system. If you're on my channel, you've also heard about syndications, commercial office deals blowing up. What does this all mean for people trying to get deals done today? It means something very, very important. It means if you were doing a vanilla deal, maybe one that can get approved eligible by FHA or whatnot, those deals will fly through. The less vanilla the deal, the harder it gets. Price point, ground up, oddball. Again, I want you to realize in an environment where the lending market is tightening up, the more vanilla the deal is, the easier it is. Dustin, is that a fair statement to make?
100% fair.
And again, one of the things, it's not that you can't get non-vanilla deals done. They're harder. They take more time. You'll have to put in more legwork, more paperwork. You'll probably have to put more down. You'll probably pay a higher rate. What we are seeing is banks, again, they'll never really say no. It's, they'll create excuses, but really it means not now. We have to tighten up. We got to keep, banks want to keep cash. That's just where we are, I think.
Yeah. And I can, in the last 2-3 months, we've really seen it on our end. I think, it's not just that it's getting tighter, but they're just removing products completely. Okay.
Yes.
Like it's the biggest that are getting hit right now, which may not apply to everyone or myself or what have you, are like luxury, whether it's purchasing, ground up, or even refine. Okay. When I say luxury, typically it's going to be something above 3.5 mil, depending on which lender you go to. Okay.
Right.
And then short-term rentals, like you get a short-term, don't even think about trying to use AirDNA, Airbnb, 12-month history. You got to go almost with a long-term rent analysis if you want the bank to touch it, or you got to go with like a bank statement analysis. Because if you tell a underwriter or a lender right now that your plan is, or you currently have it as a short-term rental, good luck. Like those are products right now that we're seeing completely wiped out, not just tightened, but wiped out completely.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because again, I'm on Twitter now. I'm trying to call out doomers. There's somebody I'm going to reference here. He's not a doomer. He's actually somebody I follow and puts out great work. I think his name's John Wake. I want to make sure I get that right. Let me just pull it up because again, I want to give credit where credit is due. Pull up Twitter. I know it's John, but let me see. Yeah, John Wake. I got it right. So he found an article the other day talking about people were buying short-term rentals, Airbnbs, and using DSCR loans. That was very, very common last year. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, very common.
So let's set the parameters. So saying something's a DSCR loan, you're buying an you're going to buy a short-term. What does that package mean? Not rate, but how much down does the buyer have in? Is it 2025?
Yeah, so
down?
Like the low, there's going to be a 5% hit. Now this is on average across all the lenders in this space in terms of the amount of leverage you can get, whether it's refining with cash or no cash or purchasing an Airbnb. Okay, so it's going to be a 5% hit across the board. The problem that we have or that we're facing right now is that a year ago, you used to be able to just be like, here's AirDNA, the numbers look great, there's my DSCR. That's gone. We've got a couple that are hanging on, but they're like, in my opinion, they're trying to keep this as long available so that they can just kind of cut the borrower at the end high and dry and say, hey, here's a bridge option. Because I just went through that. I had a client that we've had in process for about 2 months in Miami, got a great deal on a short-term rental. We were using 90%, of AirDNA. And at the very end, this short-term rental lender said, sorry, it's not part of our product anymore. No one's going to buy this. Here's a bridge. We'll give them a 24-month bridge at 8.5. We know you got to get it. I said, screw that, right? We went the long-term rent, switched it to a different lender. We ended up getting it closed like 2 days ago. But that's what a lot of these wholesale lenders, unfortunately, I think are doing because they know that the short-term rental market is not going to be something that any investors on Wall Street are going to have an appetite for it very soon.
Yeah, and again, I want to really highlight again. Shout out to John Wake pointing this out. I want to just again in video number 1, we talked about investors leaving the market. Lending products are leaving the market, right? Short-term rental DSCR loans very common last year, not common today. That's okay, right? Again, if nobody's buying the loans, you can't package them up. It makes total sense to me. What else? And again, vanilla loans get done. And again, I want to be very clear. A vanilla loan for Convoy is a long-term rental. Is that fair?
Yeah, that'd be fair with, good credit, experienced investor, et cetera. More in terms of what I'm seeing on banks sides, and I've got a couple big clients right now, and John does too, where they got a construction loan from one of the big four, okay, about a year and a half ago. And the promise to our client was that, hey, if you come back to us in terms of if you go back to one of these big four banks, we'll put you in a long-term loan, get you, in a 15, 30-year fix, whatever you want. All four that I'm talking about right now between me and John, and these are like $10 million plus deals. All four of the big banks said, no, we're not going to do it. Go out on the streets and try to find something. So they fell in our laps. And the reason is because these developers, they're self-employed, right? Their tax returns don't show anything. Okay. Unfortunately. But we're taking both or all four of these. I've got two, John's got two. We're taking them on the bank statement and asset depletion route with one of our private investors that we trust a lot, getting them a great rate. But that would be one that, obviously isn't vanilla for the banks, that they're not going to touch anymore, that we're still doing kind of on the non-QM side or private side. Sure. And we're seeing that obviously transition, a lot in this market right now.
Yeah, I want to talk about the builders a little bit more because, again, I think builders, certainly the national builders, the ones that are publicly traded, they are fat right now. They are just loving life. They can slow the roll on the builds. They can buy down rates to the 4s. They're like, this, I'm a kid in a candy store. But we both know that a lot of private builders who relied on the regional bank system, they have to be struggling today, even if they're not luxury, even if they're median plus. If they had those equity lines or whatever they're called, construction loans, and they got to flip it to term or whatever the process looks like, that has to be getting harder and harder. We might lose some private builders.
No, a lot. And that's who we're speaking to a lot right now. I've got, guys, or John does too, that a year, 2 years ago, like we couldn't really compete with when you had a regional bank that had a relationship with a client that was going to give that client whatever they wanted on a rate that was far below what anybody like myself could get from them, right? Now that's just like, not only can we not help you, we have no product to give you. So there's no money coming out of our product.
Yes, like, right? Nope, can't help you.
And that hurts somebody that it doesn't have to be a $10 million build. It could be a $500,000 build or a $300,000 build. These regional banks, even though they're a lot more, let's say, relevant in the commercial space in terms of like getting commercial loans done through regional banks, there's still a big influence on residential side. And that's just part of the market that we're in and why I think, a company like Convoy can be the best answer for some of you out there.
No, I agree, right? If you're a builder and the banks are telling you, no, you've got to come to folks like Convoy Home Loans. Again, I've tried to warn people, there's a housing market cycle and a lending market cycle. They don't always sync up. And right now we are watching a crazy lending cycle. In my 20-minute keynote speech, I let people know that the lending cycle today is like a 4 out of 10. I told them it's going to 9. This is going to get worse before it gets better. So if you're out there and you're struggling, you want to reach out to Convoy, see if they can help. Dustin, how should they do that?
Yeah, just go to our website, convoyhomeloans.com. Just mention you came from ORAT. That way myself or John can help you out.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.